Hi everyone, welcome to today's Blandin Broadband Roundtable discussion. My name is Mary Magnuson. I am the Blandin Community Broadband Program Administrator, and Bill Coleman with Community Technology Advisors is one of our consultants, and I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce the topic and the speakers.
Good morning. Thank you, Mary. This morning we're going to be talking about the counties and communities' use of CARES funds to promote broadband services. And I have to admit that I have never known less about a topic that suddenly my phone started ringing on. People asking me, how can we use these federal dollars by December 1st to promote broadband in our community? And we'd seen a lot of communities and schools using Wi-Fi hotspots as a solution for connectivity, especially for kids. But so I listened to a few webinars and was still totally confused, and we could really see a difference around the United States about how different places were using these funds for broadband connectivity. And so in recent weeks, Barbara Drower-Klein from LeSueur County, who's our Blandin Broadband Community Coordinator, has really been working with the county to make good use of these dollars for broadband deployment in LeSueur County, which is just southwest of Minneapolis. So without, so today I hope we have a good discussion. I see a few other county people on the line, and I see some providers, Diane Wells, who might have some good ideas about how people are using these dollars effectively and smartly in terms of the federal regulations and so on. So Barbara, why don't you tell us LeSueur's story about CARES funds?
Okay, thank you. So let me start with who I am and how I got myself into this position. I'm Barbara Drower-Klein, and I grew up in Minnesota, went to college in Dakota, and moved to California for 16 years, worked in child welfare, came back here, burnt out completely, and LeSueur County hired me to come back from California, including I paid the moving expenses, which was unheard of for them. I came back and I was LeSueur County Human Services Director for 3 years, got recruited to go up to Hennepin County for 8 years, got recruited to go back to California for 12 years. I was Lutheran Social Services Director out there, and came back 5 years ago. I have a home business, Thrive Financial. We renovated. You can Google my name and farmhouse, and you'll see I get the Minneapolis Tribune to come down and get out of the metro and do a story about a rehab house. And come to find out, we have Frontier dial-up. So that was quite disconcerting. And then we went from there to LTD, fixed wireless off the neighbor's silo. When you find out that your friends on the other side of Montgomery are on the silo too, you realize that's why the speeds are going down. And then I learned that I was, my neighbor had fiber from BevCom, and I ran for office that year, met a lot of people who had, so I paid to have it run to my house 2 years ago, thankfully, and called my county commissioner after going to a Region 9 meeting, and my county commissioner was also my horse veterinarian, so we know and love each other well. And we did our first Blandin application in May of 2018, and we've been working together ever since. So, and ironically, I have a lot of experience in disaster recovery. I was assigned to run the homeless shelters or the disaster shelters after the 1989 earthquake for the Red Cross. I worked with Katrina evacuees. We did fire mitigation out there. And so when I talked to the county board about the agenda, actually Mary put the budget up. So when I talked to the county board about our CARES Act budget, I put it in the context of, we're doing disaster recovery and we're still in the disaster. This is really a long haul. And what can we do to support our infrastructure and get us ready for, we're not going to be done by December 1st, but what can we do to really move ahead and especially expand on our broadband. So This is actually my budget. So we set up a meeting internally in the county and had a school representative, and we put this budget together. And there's a very strong component of broadband in it, recognizing that it has to be in the ground by December 1st. We're focusing a lot on, you'll see there's 500,000 there, and then there's 277 from townships that aren't counted in there. So we're looking at a potential for $770,000 for broadband. And the school experience, because of the Blandin steering committee, Blandin comes up all the time in terms of this CARES Act, because we're blending the two together. We're planning on continuing with Blandin dollars afterwards. But our schools have been really struggling. They send out the AT&T apps, they don't work. We have people driving. One of our priorities is identifying additional Wi-Fi spots, which had been a priority under our Blandin discussion and is a priority now with this planning. But you have to have fiber access to have good free Wi-Fi around. So in addition to figuring out the people response to this and the outreach and everything that we need to do in terms of supplies and all that, we are buying a bunch of devices and hotspots and figuring out more places for free Wi-Fi. We're all learning to use Google Suite, which is an app that the schools have that actually deploys the devices from it. You know where the devices are. You can manage the devices from that application. I am literally talking every day to broadband providers and seeing where we have dark fiber that can be lit up now and where we can put up some towers, which we need, or access towers, where we can do better fixed wireless in areas where fiber to the door is a long ways off. So we'll probably do our first, and we are using a provider that Scott County used. We're doing a great job of talking with our other counties and stealing everything that they've done. We're taking their small business program and provider for the small business grants from Scott County. The provider that we're using for the fixed wireless is a provider that Scott County has used all over the county. And we're actually, with the first tower, tying into Scott County fiber. So we're blending all these things together in a very interesting way. One of our priorities is wiring up the fairgrounds. My friends in California have their horses at their county fairgrounds, and we need to fix them up for emergencies in case we need to have more people there and use the facility in a different way than we have. So that's one of our big priorities. And we're also, in terms of if you could go back up to the top again, Mary, we're really focusing on keep going. There we go. This is the community resilience response. You see Chrome devices, hotspots. Our school people are buying them and delivering them to the county because they have the tools and the experience in doing that. The telemedicine issue is still huge. We're still trying to sort that out. The employees calling in is still an issue. We've worked a lot with our technology people who are just running like crazy, like we all are. We're looking at focusing on interactivity for the 18 to 24-year-olds. So the CDC just issued the highest risk for suicide, 18 to 24-year-olds and unpaid caregivers. We're looking at after November 3rd, because you can't call anybody before then, we're looking at an outreach program. They did this in California where volunteers are calling from the voter database and asking people how they're doing, what do they need, how can we connect them up? Is it someone who could use a device or some training to be able to hook up better to the internet? For the 18 to 24-year-olds, we're just starting discussions about that. And A lot of them are college kids who aren't going into school. We're looking at doing a music hookup via, doing 250 people on a music call where musicians are playing and talking together and chatting. I talked to our fixed wireless provider this morning about getting those devices hooked up, and we're going to be creating a employment program for 18 to 24-year-olds to get trained to put those devices up. So it would be local employment in terms of hooking those devices up once you get the towers hooked up. So I can't say enough about how the Blandin process gave us the foundation to do this. It was a long and painful planning process of us all driving up to Grand Rapids and then never seeing each other in February and then never seeing each other again face to face. Our everything has been virtual in terms of our project planning groups, but it really gave us the infrastructure to do this kind of planning with the CARES Act dollars, and it's very exciting. So I think I'm ready for just discussion and questions.
So Barbara, what's been, tell us about the fiber to the towers, a little bit more about how that might work.
Well, so yesterday, the provider was at the old jail in Lee Center where there is an existing tower with nothing on it. And my job today is to get him hooked up with our IT people. There's fiber right there. And so that one is really, truly low-hanging fruit. Ironically, the last 100 surveys that we got were almost all Lee Center, which is our county seat. And I think it's because the school has really been promoting our speed testing and our surveys. But it's still, the Lee Center area is very tough outside of the immediate city for broadband. So for schools, that's going to be a huge thing to get that one lit up. The other one is on Highway 1. First one is on Highway 169, an area that is very hilly and spread out, and as I said, difficult to get fiber to in any kind of hurry. And that one will probably be our first one up. So those are the two low-hanging fruit ones. I have now friends in MnDOT who are looking at towers and telling us what's possible. So there's a real openness now to discuss and do things that really wasn't there, but it's a crisis and everyone understands that things need to get done faster than they used to. So that's been really interesting. It's been good. And we have several other towers that we're looking at, including one in the city of Montgomery, which will have fiber from border to border next spring, one side of it, a very few of them. And the other, we have border to border grants we're working on at the same time. So we're really multitasking here. But we're looking at a tower in Montgomery that we need to get our fiber provider to cooperate with our wireless provider to run a few more feet of it. But we're getting there.
Good. Maybe in the chat box, you could share your MnDOT tower contact.
I don't know.
I know it takes a while to develop those sources sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think I want to expose them yet.
Okay. Maybe you can share that with me and I can contact them and see if we can promote.
Oh, good idea. Good idea. Yeah.
No, I understand. You have these mine. No.
Well, it's so odd. I had the name of our county contact at MnDOT, and I called and I got forwarded to a number that wasn't the number I called. I called MnDOT and got this lovely person who answered the phone, and she said, yes, the calls, everybody's working somewhere else and it's really hard to get a hold of anyone right now. So she literally tracked this person down for me and he called me back within 2 days. So
nice.
He's a new source. So yeah, call the MnDOT information desk and see who you can find, because it's very tough with everybody being social distance.
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
David Asp, I see you're on what's going on in Dakota County with CARES funding in broadband?
We have sent out a letter of intent and we received responses back, and now it's being sent in front of the Dakota County Board, and we'll find out what the commissioners think of the proposals.
Okay. Can you share what kind of proposals you received?
Not at this
Not to be
time, I can't.
specific.
They're wanting to have it in front of the commissioners, the board, to make some decisions on the amount of money they're willing to spend and what some of these proposals conflict among each other of what certain providers want.
Okay. Well, good luck then. So you got a fair number of proposals though.
We got 6 answers back from our letter of intent from different providers that would cover Dakota County. And then those 6 proposals now are going in front of the board today.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll find out what the Board of Commissioners have for input. And since I'm a network engineer, then I will be part of a team that will, sit down and work with these providers to narrow things down of what is possible.
Okay. And I know you guys have a very robust fiber network, county owned, and a group of communities together own a bunch of fiber. So is that the main infrastructure you guys plan to use, or other people, is it looking to build private fiber as well?
All of the above.
Okay.
From these providers, Dakota County has established 331 miles of fiber that we own in the county, and hooking up traffic signals, hooking up Dakota Electric substations, hooking up parks sites, Minnesota Valley Transit, the buses, Met Council, schools, Inver Hills Technical College, Dakota County Technical College, University of Minnesota. We have connections to Rice County, Northfield, and Cannon Falls, Goodhue County, and Red Wing. Prairie Island Indian Community worked with Hiawatha Broadband recently, and they connected up all of the homes, fiber to the home, fiber to the casino and the businesses near Prairie Island, near the Red Wing.
Good. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
So Buttweiler, I saw you on. I know that you have a deal with Crow Wing County. Could you talk about that? If you're there, Joe, you might be muted. Oh, maybe I don't see him now. Okay, never mind. Oh, there he is. In his ski goggles. But he's not answering.
He's on the phone according to the chat box.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? Brian from Blue Earth County, what's your plan? Silence, I guess. Okay. Anyone
Sorry,
else
Bill.
have questions or comments?
Sorry, Bill, I was on a different mute.
Okay.
Thanks. We are engaging a couple of providers, looking at our options. Right now, we're not sure as the county goes what kind of funding we're going to put towards broadband under the COVID Act. But we are working with vendors just to see if we can get anything done this year. That's a tight deadline. But by engaging the vendors, we're hoping that if something extends, into next year and we can get it in the spring, that might be an option. Speaking with the vendors, they look at this and kind of wonder how the politicians can put such a strict deadline on it, and wondering if they completely understand some of the logistics with fiber, you know, as soon as the ground freezes, things like that, work stops. So it's very hard to do that. So they're hoping, we're hoping that something gets extended into the spring, that we can put more money towards it from federal funds. So that's about it for Blue Earth County.
Okay. Well, and that is certainly the challenge. I know that it's interesting. They said, well, we want you to, you know, it's my understanding with the COVID dollars, the CARES dollars, they said, well, it should be COVID related, but not replace existing funding. And it's a very narrow kind of definition of what is eligible, and just a challenge to then a December 1st deadline. And especially here in Minnesota, where we seem to hold off a long time to think about how we're going to use these dollars to allocate those to state and local governments. Reno, what are you hearing from townships? Reno Wells.
You hear me there, Bill?
Yes.
I think the big thing for townships is three major requirements that we have to deal with. Number one, it has to happen within a specific time frame, 1st of March for us through November 15th. And I know they talked to December 30th, but the timelines we have to utilize our funds by the 15th, and we have to surrender them to the county by the 20th of November. Now, I know there's been some discussions, some different talk that maybe those timelines will be changed a little bit, but the other issue is that it cannot be anything that was budgeted for during those timelines. It would have to be something brand new that occurred due to COVID. And then the third thing is that it has to be specifically COVID related. And so the local units of government have got to be able to rationalize and defend for a possible federal audit to support the decision of the expenditure of those dollars. So I know townships have been talking about broadband, trying to figure out how in the world can we fit the need that's occurred there as related to the current pandemic within those three requirements. So it's really kind of stretching everybody's imagination with that little bit of concern is they don't want to get caught and have to pay it back later.
Well, and townships generally set their budget at their annual meeting too, and the town board has limited authority to change that, don't they?
That's correct. The budgets and the allocations are set at the second Tuesday every year for their annual meetings. And so those things are all set. We can't do anything with any of our dollars unless we have statutory authority to do it, which is usually from the state of Minnesota. And here now we're dealing specifically with federal dollars in the CARE Act. And so we're trying to stay within those three requirements that have been laid out for us.
That's quite a needle you're trying to thread there, it sounds like.
Well, it gets to be, I know that a lot of township officers are really struggling with this because of some of the issues that some presenters have already brought up. The need to be able to communicate electronically with each other in this virtual world and not having the infrastructure to do so. But how do you do it with those three requirements there? And the fact that it can't be an ongoing thing that wasn't COVID related.
This is Barbara again. I actually have now been out to every township in Leesore County. They have $277,000. Most of them do not have any way to spend it locally, but are very interested in broadband to support initiatives in their area. And the things that we're looking at basically would affect the whole county. So we have one township sitting on $60,000, and ironically, they had a border to border, and fiber is being dug for their township right now. And they've agreed to draw the money down and turn it over to the county for everybody else to take advantage of. But it was, the townships are, they are, just to get the piece of paper signed to draw down the dollars. You mean, really, our emergency response person was saying that you really need to, just a second, sorry. You really need to go and get the paperwork, and that's what I've been doing. is picking up the paperwork. We're actually, and I'm working with the emergency response department, and we're looking at how can we better hook up with our townships. They're hard to get a hold of. They don't respond to emails. And in terms of disaster responses, it's really been a challenge. So we're really also working on how do we connect up better, who of those councils have access and you can get a hold of, but drawing down the dollars and then I see myself in September going back out to all the townships and asking for checks to the county for the funds to come up. And some of them have you have surveys of the township with huge questions about broadband, and the township board is completely unaware of it. There's 3 of them that look down to the ground when you bring up broadband, because you know they don't even have emails, and then the other 2 have just adequate access, and there are only 2 of them at home, and they're fine, so they don't see a problem. So we're going to be working the townships hard in terms of getting them connected up and helping them to understand what the issues are in their area and getting those dollars to add to the fund.
Well, Barbara, the other thing that I could say to your comments is that we've been holding phone call meetings every Tuesday and explaining to people what it is, but it doesn't really matter what the issues are out there in the township. If you can't fit those 3 requirements, they can't spend those dollars on it. But either way, towards the end of November, those dollars are going to go to the county. You want to relook at your program a little bit there, because you might be wasting some of your time to go out there because the dollars will be surrendered. David Hand, the executive director of the Minnesota Association of Townships, I see is also on the line. And David may have something for you too, Bill.
Oh, great. Thanks, Bruno. David,
well, let me add that we have a trainer that we've hired to help people on Zooms and have offered that to the townships. And boy, Zoom came up at every township meeting, and there's a real fear of using it, and we want to work past that.
Good. Hi, David. Welcome to our little roundtable discussion. Do you have any statewide perspective on township engagement on these dollars?
Well, I appreciate the invitation. It's been an interesting discussion, and Reno's correct. We've been trying to do a lot of education and try to provide some assistance to townships. We've got a lot of information on our website. We've had a couple of MMB presentations talking about what the funding can be used for and reporting of it and so forth. And the sense, excuse me, the sense I have right now is that there are a lot of townships that don't have huge needs. I think there's going to be probably a majority of the townships that will not spend a majority of the money that they've been allocated. So there's going to be money that's going to end up going to some other source. And a lot of questions. We get questions every week when we do our calls. What can you use the money for? And we've been advising them that they can use it for infrastructure like broadband, but there are restrictions. We've been fairly conservative about this. What we don't want to do is have the townships get in a position of spending money and then, 6 months, a year later, the federal government coming in and saying, oh, by the way, that money you spent the wrong way and now you got to pay it back. And those are, to me, nightmare scenarios that we do not want to find ourselves in the midst of. So what we've mostly been trying to do is make sure townships have good information about what they need to do and what they can do. We've asked for them to keep us informed about what they're using the money for, but we have not gotten a whole lot of information back. So we're trying to do the best we can to reach out. We do think that the broadband issue is a huge issue for townships. We are put up on our website the speed survey that the Broadband Coalition developed, and we're encouraging people to do that. We're going through right now in the month of August. We have district meetings. Typically, we travel around the state. This year, we're doing them all via Zoom. Mm-hmm. And it is one of the things that we highlight and encourage that townships, the officers certainly to take the speed test, but also to encourage their citizens to take the speed test as well. So we're hoping that that'll help make it more clear that there is a need and it's not being met very adequately in greater Minnesota. But our national association, we talk to people in Washington about this all the time. Minnesota's, what they tell us is Minnesota is actually better than most states. Hard to believe, but that's what they say. So I don't know if I've got a whole lot I can give you other than that, but it's an important issue for us.
One question. It's my understanding that if the township doesn't fill out the paperwork to draw the funds down, their funds don't go to the county, they stay with the state.
Townships, and I think it's true of any level of government, you have to fill out your application. You have to turn in whatever the form is, and you got to have a DUNS number and a SWIFT number, etc. If you don't do that, then you don't get the funds. That is correct. And there have been some townships that have told us, well, we can't think of anything we would use the funds for, so we're not going to even apply. And I think there probably have been some that have done that. We've encouraged them to do it because we've also said, look, if you don't need the money, you can give that money to your county or to, if you're in a fire service area, a fire department, or another township or a city. So we've encouraged them to do that, but I know there have been townships that have not.
Well, one quick good story about townships is one of our townships, it has fiber being dug right now from a border-to-border grant, but there's a little pocket inside of it that was CenturyLink. And so since we didn't do a challenge of CenturyLink, those houses could not be included. There's about 12 of them, and they're pretty pissed. They see the fiber sitting out there. And so at the township meeting, I called up BrevCom, and they've agreed to do those 12 houses with CARES Act dollars. They got the fiber out there right now. All they have to do is run to 12 more houses. And that's happening with CARES Act dollars with that one township. That was really exciting.
That's good. I think, Barbara, one of the things that you're showing is you have to be on this stuff. You have to be working and coordinating and seeing where the opportunities are and what the possibilities are. And a simple phone call can solve a problem for 12 houses that help them go from having a gigabit available instead of just a 25 down and 3 up connection.
Yeah.
And so that's really smart. Chuck Ackman, of course, you know, what's going to happen at the Congress? Are we going to see any more CARES Act kind of things?
Obviously, I'm not going to go out on a limb and predict that one way or another, Bill. But when I saw this conversation happening today, this is why I wanted to sit and listen and hear.
For a minute, Chuck is the Senator Klobuchar's staff.
Yeah, I'm her outreach director. Been with her 12 years. I'm her, I work on broadband here in Minnesota. But specific to the CARES discussion, it was interesting too to hear the discussion about extending the deadline. And I had a conversation last week with, it was a couple of mayors and a county administrator. And I said, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of local governments talking about extending this deadline. And they said, no, that's actually there's arguments both ways. They made the argument the other way, saying we don't want to see that extension because there may not be new money coming until we've proven that we spent the existing money. So that's the other side of the argument. So that's what I'm listening to, these nuances. I've been taking pages of notes here. Obviously, Senator Klobuchar has been close in this issue. I think a lot of people on this call know that her background in the telecom industry, even before she was a senator, keeps her very close on this. And any additional federal aid she has talked about for a while, trying to get it directly into local government hands. And what I'm hearing here is certainly helping supporting that argument. So I appreciate that. That was a long answer and totally skirting the question of what I think is going to happen next, because I've been doing this job long enough never to forecast that.
Well, Chuck, I want to add that we have a vendor with CAF $2 that they've been sitting on for 3 years now. They're supposed to do 3 towers with $450,000, and their earliest plan to do it is 2 years from now. And we have not been able to get any kind of response to them to move it up sooner. So we're actually using CAF dollars in some areas to replace what should have been done with CAF $2.
Using CARE dollars.
Should have been done with CAF $2 because they're sitting on the money. We're very concerned about RDOF coming down and doing the same thing where you have these multinational corporations sitting on a pile of money and not doing anything. And then that excludes that area from the border-to-border dollars. It's the federal dollars are, they have to hold those people accountable, and they're not.
Yeah, we've certainly heard that with the FCC and the CAF2 funding and the larger providers. Heard it before, yes.
Yep.
Diane Wells, what are you hearing? I'm sure people are calling you at the Office of Broadband about these dollars. What's your most innovative project that you've heard? Can you share that?
Bill, actually, no, we're not really hearing what these projects are about. That's why I joined the call. The only question we're getting is how it might intersect with the border-to-border grant applications. And so we're just directing applicants to put any information in about how CARES Act funded broadband would help with the next step project of a border-to-border grant, and that's in question, I think it's 4.22, so that we know that it's kind of an iterative process, that CARES Act funding was spent, and then this would build off of that in a border-to-border.
So we've
That's
seen
one thing. That's one thing that we're thinking about this week. Is there dark fiber low-hanging fruit in an area that want to do a border-to-border application this year and could actually expand the territory because you're paying for some of the work out of a different fund. So that's a discussion we're having this week.
So we're seeing a little bit of fiber to the home built using the CARES dollars. We're seeing probably what I've heard is the more dominant thing is the fiber to the tower, and then funding wireless, fixed wireless services. Are there other things? Are we hearing about any kind of industrial park fiber optic networks that are being funded as a part of this, as a way to help businesses be more competitive and deal with the pandemic? Any of the projects that, different types of projects that people are doing? No? Okay. So I don't know if there's other information we can really share. You know, that deadline gets closer and closer, and so haste is critical to this and trying to make some things happen. The one thing I would say is that I know that LeSueur County has spent the last 2 years really building relationships with providers. I know BevCom and Jaguar in particular in your county. And I think having those relationships in place certainly helps to speed, project development, when you have to do it in a hurry. So I think there's a lot of value that comes from having solid relationships with incumbent and prospective competitive providers. So I would encourage people to keep working on that. Any other comments about CARES funding? If not, Eileen, from Hometown Fiber, you're a new provider in the
I was afraid you were going to say this. Actually, we're not an ISP.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I keep trying to help them make clear. We are not an ISP. Our program has focuses on fiber to every address, so every home and business in an infrastructure that then the city or municipality would own and lease then to providers. So there's some competition into that mix. So
okay.
we aren't an ISP.
Okay, is that more of an open access model, would you say?
It is an open access model. that we've put together based on some work in other communities. So we're local. I mean, we are all Minnesotans. We're all local, and our work has all been local. But we have some the folks who founded this. Some of them are retired CenturyLink fiber folks. So and the other people have worked with cities and counties throughout Minnesota and South Dakota. So they have it from two perspectives: the city, county, municipality needs, and then how the industry is moving from like the CenturyLink side. So
Okay.
it's been really, I joined with them because this is all about getting rural communities the internet service they need. And that's my background is in rural communities and in education. So
you're looking at trying like county seat communities. Would those be your first priority?
no, actually, we've everybody from some of the suburban communities that around the Twin Cities that don't have decent internet or very spotty service, all the way to tiny towns up in Lake of the Woods.
Okay.
So it's the economic, so the financial and the technical model they've put together is really simple, they keep telling me, but isn't one that is out there. So so it's hard to explain, and that's why I'm not doing a very good job right now. I need to figure out how to talk about it better, and then that's why I'm joining these groups to learn more about the industry, because I am completely new to it.
Good. Well,
I'm going to call you, Bill, to say, hi, can you have coffee over Zoom? And
I'd be happy to do that. So
great, great, thank you.
Good. Other questions people have about broadband or technology? We've got a great, smart people on this call that can answer almost any question about the broadband grant program or broadband in general or what's going on elsewhere.
Here at Dakota County, we've formed a Dakota Broadband Board, which is the mayors and a couple county commissioners forming a joint powers agreement. So we're taking our assets in the process of and working with Logis, which is a group that handles our operations and maintenance 24/7 help desk. And if there's somebody gets stupid with a backhoe and digs up fiber, and we're working a lot with various providers. We at the county do not want to be ever an ISP, internet service provider, but we have opportunities where we're doing a lot of road construction. I just got an email just before the meeting where we've got Lakeville County Road 70 was a 2-lane highway and they're making it into a 4-lane highway. So there's going to have an open trench. So we're going to put multiple conduits in there and a 288 strand fiber in there. And we've established a lot of relationships with the school districts and the cities so that as they're doing projects, sidewalks or different things that we can incorporate, because we've got a lot, 305 traffic signals. We've got 66 of them connected up to fiber. And we've got a lot of fire stations and city halls and different things that we can do redundant connections into. So we're finishing up a project up Medota Heights and into Egan and looking at redundancy. So we're boring underneath of I-94 with state permits and different things. We're putting in 288 strands of fiber with multiple conduit so we can create rings between our different buildings and different sites so that if there is a fiber cut, we don't go down. And redundancy is our main piece that we're looking at right now as we progress with a lot of these projects. We're connecting up trailheads, which are bike trails that along the Mississippi and the Minnesota River. And then we put in a shelter that we build, but homeless are camping out in the shelter. So at 10 o'clock, we have fiber to there that'll monitor to make sure nobody's in the building and automatically lock the doors. From the computer, we'll know to lock the doors. Cameras will be out in the parking lot, free Wi-Fi in the park so that students and different people can come in and use it. We're doing a lot of outdoor wireless for libraries as an example, but we've got to order lightning boxes that prevent the lightning from hitting the cameras and taking out the cameras and taking out everything else inside the building because we've had some lightning hits.
David, could you describe the most active use of the fiber by competitive providers? So when you say you're selling, I mean that you're selling to providers, is that for them to get kind of middle mile, or are they using that to build last mile?
That hasn't been decided. Right now, we're not an ISP. We're mainly looking at, as they call it, an INET, institutional network. So we're connecting up the technical colleges in University of Minnesota and Met Council, the buses for Minnesota Valley Transit, which handles the buses in our area.
Okay.
And then the traffic signals we're working on have priority. So if a bus is in a rainstorm, they can look at where the bus is, and the computer automatically adds 7 seconds to traffic signal and 10 seconds to traffic signal, making sure that it gets to the bus stops. And then we've got Dakota Electric, which is a local electric provider. We've got 26 substations that we're finishing hooking up the last couple right now.
Okay.
So we lease fiber to us and do smart grid.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that more of what you're looking for, Bill?
Well, yeah, I know you guys have been doing that for quite a while, and I know there's always been discussion about using that network as a way to spur competitive last mile residential service.
And our solution has been form a broadband board with elected officials. I'm a network engineer. That's way above my pay grade.
Oh,
And
sure. No, I'm just asking if any progress has been made on that, and apparently not really. So,
not really. We're working with some of these letters of intent and what the board and what the cities decide.
mm-hmm.
I know some of the cities, like Lakeville, has been very active in pursuing working with others. And then I've been working with bringing in Rice County and bringing in, we just had a meeting a short time ago with all the school districts in the county, plus some outside the county, and trying to organize so that we can go after together some of this money that's coming available and how we can use some of the assets that each one of us have.
Mm-hmm.
We're just did a joint powers agreement with the Lakeville School District in Lakeville City and the county, and we're swapping fiber back and forth among each other so that we can connect up more signals and more. Dakota County has technical college has a veterinary training class building that they lease, and it's right across the street from a fire station, right across the street from 3 traffic signals. And then there's also the school district moved. And so we're swapping 36 strands back and forth between each other on the different bundles that we built.
Well, it sounds like Eileen needs to talk to you about how to make use of that network around Dakota County for a countywide fiber to the home open access network. That'd be a good project, Eileen.
Yeah, it's
Couple hundred
that's
thousand
perfect.
homes.
That's perfect for our technical people to talk. It sounds like to the broadband board that they put together. And
Yeah, good.
But our original projects were.
If people want to give me a call.
Yeah. Our original projects were or are city rings, directly connected fiber for city operations in a couple communities. So that's where our brainchild started, is that type of work. But Dakota County, just listening to you all talk, I'm learning so much, and you're amazing. And Barbara, I don't know how you do all you do, but you're certainly creative.
Well, my side hobby is I'm looking at which coffee has the most caffeine. I'm starting an experimental project to see, is it the light roast? Is it the Vietnamese coffee? So you have to have side hobbies to distract you.
Mary, do you want to talk a little bit about the conference?
Sure, I can do that. Are most of you familiar that we're doing a virtual conference this October? So actually, if I can talk and pull up the website at the same time, might be kind of fun. I don't know how successful I'm going to be though. So that first full week in August, we're going to do 3 days of, we're going to do 3 days of like a 3-hour kind of planned programming, and then we're going to do a couple weeks of just kind of elective things that people can do if they want to, and then another week of the 3 hours in the morning, 3 days that final week. We have some really cool speakers lined up. We have Roberto Gallardo from Purdue. He has a digital ready community program that we're looking for 3 communities that might to test that out. It's called Digital Ready Community, and it's a way of kind of inventorying and your digital assets and coordinating them so that you can all be kind of projecting the same message out in the community, which is kind of an interesting idea. So we're still looking for, we already have 1 community set for that, but we're looking for a couple more. So that's one thing. We also have NTCA coming in. We have Shirley Bloomfield giving a keynote. So that'll be interesting. And we're going to be announcing another one in the next, we're going to be announcing 2 more in the next couple weeks. Registration is open. We already have a fair amount of interest. I think we have like 15 people registered as of, when we opened up registration, I think on Thursday. So we're pretty happy with that. I just posted the link in the chat box. And we're going to be just kind of trying fun things. We're going to be, this whole thing is an experiment. We're going to be doing things like trying to host some open space conversations so people can bring their own interests to the conference and have conversations about things that they want to talk to. We're going to, we're doing things like that just to try to make it a little bit more interactive than, some of the webinars that you might have been a part of. Lots of experimenting. We're going to try to do some fun stuff too. So yeah, I hadn't planned on speaking, so I'm not really.
Oh, sorry, Mary.
No, that's okay. I'm not the best at speaking off the cuff.
So Mary, I think at some point we should be doing a pet Zoom. I mean, I can't tell you all the vendors I've talked to. I know who all their dogs are and what kind of dogs they have. I mean, that's something we're thinking about that down here, is to add a Zoom with your pet.
Zoom with your pet. Mine isn't very cooperative. I can't get her to like come and put her feet up and yeah. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention, it might be a good thing to mention in this group. We are looking for mentors, and we're not looking for long-term mentors, just people that would be willing to host a conversation with 1 or 2 others during the conference. And it doesn't need to be on anything technical related to broadband. It could be on community organizing, that sort of thing. That it's just 2 like 25-minute conversations that first week. So you'll notice in registration that you are asked if you'd like to be a mentor or be in a mentor session. So, we encourage, this group looks like could have a lot of good mentors in here.
Thanks, Mary.
Please consider that.
Thank you. So we're about out of time, so I want to thank everyone for joining on our roundtables. This is actually the last one as we now prepare to implement the conference, and we'll be focusing on that over the next month or so. So we'll see if they come back in the future.
Thank you for doing this.
Before you end, this is David Hand with the Townships. Can I jump in and just let you all know, if you don't know, that with respect to the CARES Act, MMB is going to put on a webinar tomorrow. We're hosting it in conjunction with the League of Minnesota Cities and the County Association, and it just talks about some of the new reporting requirements that have emerged, I guess, in this ever-changing environment. So just if you're interested, you can find the invite on the League of Minnesota Cities website.
Oh, thank you, David. I appreciate that. Good news. Well, good. So thanks, everyone, and just have a great day. And there's Chuck's pet. So Barbara got her wish.
Cats just show up when they show up. It's not like I called him, you know. It's
I spend my time trying to train my dogs to keep 4 feet on the floor, not jumping up on my lap. So
yeah, these guys just show up and headbutt me when they feel like it.
good deal.
Thank you.
Everyone have a
Good
great
run.
day. Bye-bye.
I think
you, guys.